There's a moment in every relationship that feels like standing at the edge of a cliff. You can see the beauty, you can feel the risk, and your heart is pounding because you don't know if the other person will catch you or let you fall. Now imagine this, you're with a man who seems guarded, distant, hard to read. Sometimes it feels like he builds walls higher than you can climb. You ask yourself, does he even love me? Or am I just chasing something that isn't there? But here's the truth. Love from an avoidant man doesn't look like love from everyone else. It's subtle. It's hidden in the shadows. And if you miss the signs, you might walk away from someone who actually loves you deeply, but simply doesn't know how to show it. Today, I'm going to reveal the 7 secret signs an avoidant man truly loves you. Once you recognize them, you'll no longer live in confusion. You'll finally see the truth behind his actions, and you'll understand his love in a way that changes everything. When a man with avoidant tendencies starts to let you into his world, you need to understand the magnitude of what's really happening. This isn't just about sharing a few random details or letting you peek into his daily routine. It's about crossing a line that, for him, is sacred. An avoidant man doesn't open up his world easily. His space is his fortress, his sanctuary, and for years he has learned to protect it at all costs. It's where he feels safe, where nobody can judge him, where no one can reach in and hurt him. So when he starts to let you in, when he allows you to see parts of his life that he normally guards, it is never casual. It is a quiet declaration of love. Think about it. An avoidant man thrives on control, on boundaries, on keeping things neatly sealed. If he begins to invite you into that space, it means something inside him has shifted. It means you are no longer someone on the outside knocking at the door. You've become someone he is willing to trust with access to his inner world. Maybe it looks like him inviting you into his home when he usually prefers to be alone. Maybe it's him talking about a childhood memory he never shares with anyone. Maybe it's letting you see him in his unpolished moments, when he's tired, when he's stressed, when the mask is off. These are not accidents. These are choices. Each choice says, I feel safe with you. And safety for an avoidant is the first language of love. They don't love in loud declarations. They don't love in constant reassurance, but they love in the slow unveiling of who they really are. Every time he opens a little more, every time he lets you see what he normally hides, he's saying, you matter more than my walls. This is love that's quiet but powerful. It's not love that shouts from the rooftops. It's love that whispers through trust. So when you notice him starting to open his life to you, recognize what's unfolding. That's not a small step for him. That's a leap. That's his way of saying, without words, you are becoming my safe place. For an avoidant man, solitude isn't just a preference, it's a shield. Alone, he doesn't have to explain himself. Alone, he doesn't risk being judged. Alone, he feels safe because there's no one to disappoint and no one who can reach inside and hurt him. His space, his quiet, his independence, that is his kingdom. So when he chooses to step away from that kingdom and spend time with you, understand what that truly means. That's not casual. That's not just him passing the hours. That is him giving up the very thing he values most, his comfort zone. Think about it this way. Some men show love through constant affection, some through endless words, but an avoidant man shows it through sacrifice. And the biggest sacrifice for him is time. If he willingly trades his solitude for your presence, it's not because he feels obligated. It's because, deep down, being with you feels more rewarding than being alone. Maybe it looks like him inviting you over on a night he'd normally recharge by himself. Maybe it's choosing to stay longer in a conversation when he'd usually withdraw. Maybe it's sitting next to you in silence, no words exchanged, but the fact that he stayed, that is the message. For him, those small choices are monumental. They're him saying, your presence brings me peace, not pressure. And notice something important, he doesn't do this for everyone. He doesn't scatter his time around carelessly. He guards it, he protects it, because it's his lifeline. So if he gives it to you, that's not random, it's intentional. It means your energy doesn't drain him, it refuels him. It means your presence doesn't suffocate him, it steadies him. You might not hear the words, I love you, every day. you might not get grand gestures. But if he keeps choosing to spend his most valuable resource, his time, with you, that's love speaking in the language he knows best. Because for him, time isn't just minutes on a clock. Time is trust. Time is intimacy. Time is proof. So when an avoidant man keeps showing up, not because he has to, but because he wants to understand what's unfolding, he's quietly telling you that you are more important than his solitude. And for him, that's one of the deepest expressions of love he could ever give. When it comes to love, so many people expect words. They expect long conversations, constant reassurance, and daily reminders of affection. But for an avoidant man, words don't always come easily. He may not flood you with texts. He may not pour his heart out in long speeches. And sometimes his silence makes you question everything. But here's the truth, just because he doesn't always speak doesn't mean he isn't listening. In fact, when he truly loves you, listening becomes one of the most powerful ways he communicates. Pay attention to the little things. He may not say much when you talk about your day, but weeks later, you'll hear him mention that detail you thought he forgot. Maybe you told him once about a dream you had or something that hurt you in the past, and suddenly he brings it up at just the right time, showing you he's been carrying it with him. That's not an accident. That's him showing you that your words don't just pass by. They land, they matter, they stay. This is love in action, not in noise. An avoidant man may not be the loudest voice in the room, but when he cares, he's tuned in deeply. He notices when your tone changes. He recognizes when your energy feels off. He picks up on the things you don't even say out loud. And because he's cautious by nature, he doesn't waste energy on details that don't matter to him. If he's remembering your details, it's because you matter. There's something profound about this kind of love. Anyone can say the words, "I love you." But it takes something more to actually show it in the form of presence, attention, and memory. His listening is his way of investing. His quiet is not empty. It's filled with observation, care, and the unspoken message, "I see you, I hear you, you're important." And when you begin to notice this, you'll realize that love isn't always about how much someone talks. It's about how much someone values what you say. If he's carrying your words with him, if he's showing you through his actions that he hasn't forgotten, then his silence is not distance. His silence is devotion. One of the greatest misconceptions people have about avoidant men is that if they don't show up in the small daily ways, like constant messages, frequent check-ins, or endless affection, it must mean they don't care. But that's not how their love works. An avoidant man may not flood you with attention, but when it truly matters, when the stakes are high, he will be there. And that presence in those critical moments speaks volumes louder than 1,000 words ever could. Think about what it takes for someone who fears closeness to lean in instead of pulling away when life gets heavy. For an avoidant man, that is not easy. His natural instinct is to retreat when emotions rise too high or when pressure builds. Yet, when he chooses to stand beside you in those moments, when he shows up at the hospital, when he comforts you through a loss, when he listens when your world feels like it's falling apart, that is love at its purest. He is pushing against his very nature to make sure you are not alone. It may not look dramatic. He might not sweep in with grand speeches or overwhelming gestures. Sometimes it's as simple as sitting quietly with you when you're hurting, fixing something you've been struggling with, or taking action when you didn't even ask. These aren't just acts of kindness. They are signals of loyalty, commitment, and care. Because for an avoidant man, actions are safer than words. Actions can be trusted. And when he shows up for you, he's telling you that your well-being matters more to him than his comfort. This is love that proves itself in the hardest times. Anyone can love you when it's easy, when it's light, when it's fun. But when life tests you, that's when you find out who truly cares. If an avoidant man is there in those moments, if he chooses you over his instinct to withdraw, it means you've reached a part of his heart very few ever do. So the next time you wonder if he loves you, don't just measure his everyday responses. Watch what he does when life presses hard. If he shows up when it counts, if he stands beside you when it's most difficult, that is his way of saying, "I may not always say it, but I am here for you." And that means everything. For an avoidant man, vulnerability is the battlefield he has spent most of his life avoiding. From the outside, it may seem simple to open up, to share fears, or to admit insecurities. But for him, that feels like standing unarmed in front of someone who could strike at any moment. Vulnerability means exposure, and exposure means danger. It's the very thing his walls were built to protect against. That's why, when he starts to let those walls crack in front of you, you need to realize the depth of what's happening. It's not just small talk. It's not weakness. It's trust. And for him, trust is love. You'll notice it in the moments you least expect. Maybe he tells you about a mistake from his past, something he's carried quietly for years. Maybe he admits he's scared about the future or that he feels unworthy of love. Maybe he shows you his anger, his sadness, or his tears, even though he's spent most of his life hiding those emotions away. To many people, this may look like nothing extraordinary. But for an avoidant, it is monumental. Every vulnerable word is a step into unknown territory, and he's only willing to take those steps with someone who feels safe. Think about it. This is a man who has learned to survive by appearing strong, composed, and self-reliant. If he lets you see the cracks, it's because he no longer sees you as a threat. He sees you as a partner, someone who won't use his openness against him. Someone who won't abandon him once he reveals what's really inside. That shift doesn't happen with just anyone. It happens with the person he truly loves. And sometimes it's not even in words. Vulnerability can show in the way he allows you to see him when he's struggling, when he doesn't hide his exhaustion, when he doesn't put on a mask of perfection, when he lets you be there in the messy, unpolished, raw moments. That's not a slip. It's permission. It's his way of saying, you are the one person I trust enough to see the parts of me I've hidden from the world. So when an avoidant man reveals even a glimpse of his vulnerability, recognize the courage it took, because in that moment, he's not just opening up, he's loving you in the deepest way he knows how. One of the clearest signs an avoidant man truly loves you is when he begins to place you inside his vision of the future. For someone who naturally avoids attachment, the future has always been a place of uncertainty, something he prefers not to commit to, something he keeps vague and undefined so that no one can hold him to it. Avoidants live in the present because the present feels safer. Tomorrow feels like a trap. Promises feel like chains. So when he starts including you, even in the smallest ways, in what's ahead, it's not just casual conversation. It's a breakthrough. It might not look like a big declaration. He might not say, I see us together forever, or I want to build a life with you. Instead, it slips out in subtle comments, mentioning a trip months away and saying, we should go there. Talking about his goals and weaving you into the picture. Discussing where he might move and asking how you'd feel about it. These are not throwaway words. They're careful steps. Every time he speaks of tomorrow and puts you in it, he's telling you that he's not just thinking about now, he's imagining life with you beyond today. Understand how significant that is. For a man who fears entanglement, every mention of the future has weight. If he didn't care, he would avoid it. He would keep things vague, he would stay non-committal, and he would dodge any discussion of what's next. But if he's brave enough to bring you into that space, it means you're not temporary in his eyes. It means he's allowing himself to picture stability with you, and that's not something he does lightly. And pay attention to his actions. Does he start planning things with you in advance? Does he adjust his schedule to make room for something weeks or months away? That's not just convenience. That's commitment in his own language. He's taking what once felt threatening, the idea of permanence, and reshaping it into something safe because it involves you. This is where you see his heart in motion. When he paints the future and you're part of the canvas, he's telling you in the most profound way that he doesn't just love you now, he's willing to stretch past his fear and imagine a life where you're still there. And for an avoidant man, that is love in its rarest, truest form. The strongest sign that an avoidant man truly loves you is not when he follows his instincts. It's when he fights them. Avoidants are wired to retreat when things get too close. Their natural reflex is to pull away the moment emotions rise, to create distance when intimacy feels overwhelming, and to protect themselves by withdrawing before they can be hurt. It's a survival strategy, something built over years, maybe even decades. But love has a way of disrupting even the strongest defenses. When he finds himself wanting to stay instead of run, choosing closeness instead of distance, that's not just affection. That's transformation. You'll notice it in moments where the old him would have vanished. Maybe you express a need, and instead of shutting down, he leans in. Maybe conflict arises, and instead of disappearing, he tries to work through it. Maybe he feels his own panic rising, but he resists the urge to build a wall and instead leaves the door open for you. These are not easy choices for him. They cost him comfort. They challenge every instinct he's relied on to feel safe. But when he loves you, he will start making those choices because losing you feels riskier than staying. And it won't always be dramatic. Sometimes it's subtle, like answering a difficult question instead of avoiding it. Sometimes it's reaching for your hand when he feels scared. Sometimes it's simply remaining present when he would normally retreat into silence. Every one of those moments is a victory over his old patterns. Every one is a small revolution fueled by love. This is where his love becomes undeniable. Anyone can act loving when it feels natural, but when a man pushes against his very instincts for you, that is love at its most powerful. He's not just showing you affection. He's showing you growth. He's saying without words, I'm willing to fight myself to keep you close. And that is rare. That is sacred. So when you see an avoidant man battling his patterns, when he chooses closeness over escape, honesty over silence, presence over distance, you are witnessing the deepest proof of his feelings. He is no longer just surviving, he is loving. And that love is strong enough to rewrite the very rules he once lived by. When it comes to love, we often expect it to be spoken in a universal language, grand declarations, constant reminders, or a steady stream of, I love you. But an avoidant man doesn't love that way. His love isn't always verbal. It doesn't always follow the script you might hope for. Instead, it shows up in his own language, quiet actions, subtle choices, and gestures that might look ordinary on the surface but carry extraordinary meaning when you understand where they come from. For him, saying, I love you, may feel too exposed, too vulnerable, too risky. But watch what he does. He may not say the words, but he'll remember to fix something that matters to you. He may not shower you with compliments, but he'll make sure you get home safely every single time. He may not write love letters, but he'll carve out space for you in his life even when it costs him comfort. His love is written in the way he protects, the way he shows consistency, the way he chooses you even when he doesn't say it outright. It's easy to miss this kind of love if you're only listening for words. You might feel unloved because he's not saying it the way you imagined. But if you start paying attention to his actions, you'll see that he's been saying it all along, just in a different dialect of love. Picking up your favorite snack without asking. Keeping track of things that stress you out and quietly taking care of them. Staying near you when you need comfort, even if he doesn't know exactly what to say. These are not random behaviors. They are his version of, I'm here, I care, I love you. And here's the beauty, this love is steady. It doesn't always come with dramatic highs, but it's reliable. It's built on action, not just expression. It may whisper instead of shout, but it whispers in a way that doesn't fade. For an avoidant man, love isn't a performance. It's a choice he makes again and again, in ways that sometimes only you will notice. So when you look closely, you'll see it. His love may not follow the traditional path, but it is real, it is loyal, and it is powerful. Because when an avoidant man truly loves, his love is not spoken lightly. It is lived day after day through the things he does when no one is watching. Love, especially when it comes from an avoidant man, is not loud, obvious, or always easy to recognize. It doesn't always look like what the movies show us, and it doesn't always sound like what society teaches us to expect. But that doesn't mean it's any less real. In fact, it can be more profound, because it comes from someone who has had to fight through fear, through instinct, and through walls they've spent years building. When he shows you love, even in the smallest ways, it's not casual, it's monumental. It's a signal that you have touched a part of him that no one else has reached. Think about each sign we've uncovered. He lets you into his world. He spends his time with you even when solitude feels safer. He listens with presence, remembers your words and carries them with him. He shows up when it counts. When life feels heavy and uncertain, he reveals his vulnerability. even if just in small cracks that let you glimpse the truth of his heart. He begins to place you in his future, something that once terrified him. He fights his instincts to pull away, choosing you instead. And above all, he loves in his own quiet language, through actions, through consistency, through devotion that doesn't always speak in words. Each of these is not just a sign of affection. They are proofs of transformation. They are proofs of courage. And that is the deeper truth. When an avoidant man loves, he doesn't just love you. He changes for you. He bends his patterns, rewrites his habits, and breaks through fears that once felt unshakable. That kind of love is not shallow, not fleeting, not fake. It is rare because it requires him to push against everything that once defined him. It is love born out of struggle, and that makes it powerful beyond measure. It's not the love that comes easy. It's the love that is chosen, protected, and fought for. So if you are with a man who shows you these signs, don't doubt it. Don't dismiss it because it doesn't look like the fairy tales you've been told. Instead, honor it for what it truly is, a unique, rare expression of love that has taken immense courage to surface. Recognize that his silence doesn't mean he doesn't care. Recognize that his distance doesn't mean he doesn't feel. Recognize that his actions, however subtle, are him speaking in the only language he knows how, until trust allows him to learn a new one. At the end of the day, the most important thing to remember is this: love isn't always about how loudly it's expressed, but how deeply it's lived. If an avoidant man is breaking down his walls for you, if he's showing up in ways that push him past his fears, then you are not just loved, you are trusted. And that is the highest honor he can give. Because once he truly loves, it may not look like everyone else's love, but it is raw, it is real, and it is enduring. And if you can see it, accept it, and cherish it, you'll realize you are holding on to one of the rarest loves of all. Thank you so much for watching till the end. If this message spoke to your heart, remember, you are not alone on this journey. Every like, comment, and share helps this community grow and reach people who need this message the most. So if you found value here, don't forget to hit that like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe so you never miss the next powerful insight. Your support means everything. It's what keeps this channel alive and allows me to continue creating content that inspires, empowers, and speaks to your soul. Until next time, take care of yourself, keep growing, and remember, you are worthy of love that is real, steady, and true. Thank you once again, and goodbye for now. Stay strong, stay inspired, and I'll see you in the next video.